We are starting this series of discussions on the interpretation of history, which is also known as hermeneutics. Hermeneutics, of course, applies to many fields. It applies to religious study of religious texts and experience, also law and experiences associated with that, and also to history and any other field of knowledge. Now, a specific subject we want to discuss is a very exciting and a very energetic discussion that is now taking place in Sri Lanka about the prehistory of the country. This is mostly to the work of prehistorians who have been engaged in uncovering the past through their excavations, which has gone on for several decades from the 20th century. By now, large body of information is available, and this information has been tested in the best intellectual centers in the world, and findings are backed by their interventions. Now, the fact that has been established is that the prehistoric man, or what is called the Homo sapiens, arrived in Sri Lanka sometime 125,000 years back from Africa. These Homo sapiens means people who are just like us. Evolution has reached an stage where by various stages the person with a consciousness, the mental ability and consciousness has emerged on the earth, and these people arrived in Sri Lanka during that period. Prehistorians also tells us that from then on up to recent times, a lot of things have been discovered about them, what they did, how they lived and the like. They were called hunter-gatherers, which meant that they lived by hunting and also by gathering food from their own environment. They have developed various types of skills. For example, the prehistorians tells us that they were able to at a certain stage to use iron, which meant they had the knowledge of kind of heat needed in order to melt iron. They had funeral rites. They did various kinds of activities which shows that they had an idea of making things, and like that also use of musical instruments and things that they wear for beauty, which suggest the development of aesthetic aspect of these people. So on the one hand, or as long a period as 100,000 years or more, they lived within the local environment and acquired knowledge about this environment and also about each other, about nature and things like that. What is important about this is that experience of human beings is far more important than what they later write in books or express themselves in other ways. Experience creates the human being. Experience creates knowledge. Experience creates habits. The experience guide them and develop their wisdom and also their internal qualities. What is unique to Homo sapiens is that they are the only creature on earth that has the capacity to reflect upon themselves. They can look back on themselves and see whether they are doing something right or wrong, or whether they got something wrong, and they can improve their knowledge, and also what is good and bad. In other words, the development of ethics and morality began during this very long period. Normally, the past generations in Sri Lanka thought in terms of 2500 years of history. But now we know we have very longer time of history, which means longer time of knowledge gathering, longer time of habit formation, longer time of reflections and development of the human person and human relationships. Now this is important. They lived and they had to interact with each other. They had to learn to live with each other. Now so far, on the evidence available, there does not seem a huge any kind of a huge conflicts among these people. Actually, given the local environment, which is with the fertile grounds and lack of natural tragedies like volcanoes and other heavy natural disasters, they develop more peacefully and they live together. The important factor is that during that 100,000 years or more in Sri Lanka, there was nothing called state or government. These people did not need a government, they did not create a government, but they lived well with each other. All kinds of distinctions, conflicts, tensions which later arises have to do with the various problems which led to the necessity of creating a state. This does not mean that state created those problems. We do not say that. We also do not say that state is a bad thing. What we are saying is that for more than 100,000 years, these people lived without a state. Then, how did a state come into being in Sri Lanka? Now, that is a question that we will discuss in more detail in our second discussion. For the time being, what we need to grasp in trying to understand the history thereafter and the current problems that exist, not only in politics, but in society, in culture, in our ethics, in our morality, is that origins of these problems do not arise in this first period of living for over 100,000 years. These were all things that were created later. From that point of view, there is enough material even in the YouTube today by persons qualified to speak on these matters, on the discoveries of the prehistorical researchers. I think everybody should take an interest in this because it will create a background to a discussion which can change all of the notions that we have been living by, and it will help for us to understand not only how some problems arose, but also it may pave the way to find our way out of these problems.